All right, thanks, Colton. We will call this practice committee meeting to order. And we have a quorum, so thank you for being here. Review the onsite packet. There is no onsite packet, correct? Correct. All right. Additions, revisions to the agenda. I have a note that we are going to add a report from the IV therapy task force. Is there anything else? I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the amended agenda.
Patty, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Next we have announcements. I have two. I believe, is Amy on the line? Amy Wren?
See any. We do not see her on the line.
I'll go ahead and announce her though. This would have been Amy's last meeting, so we thank her for her service. She will not be returning. She's not eligible for reappointment. So thank you, Amy, for your years of service on this committee. And then we have Greg, who's just informed us he's retiring. And so this is your last meeting, correct? And we appreciate all that you've done, and we wish you the best of luck in your retirement.
Well, I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure to meet and work with you all over the last 2 years. It's been interesting and enjoyable as well. So thank you.
And ad hoc, I just want to thank Linda for all the work that she does. I mean, you guys know how much the staff does for these committee meetings, for the board meeting. And Linda is so patient with me because I never seem to know what I'm doing. And then we have two new board members visiting with us today. So we've got Belinda Katz and we've got Tasha Fields here sitting in, and we're looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow, right? So next, let's look at the minutes from June 10th. If there's any additions or corrections to those.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes from June 10th, 2025 practice committee as written.
Moved and second, any discussion? Approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Right. So beginning on page 5 of your packet, Linda is going to take us through our practice calls report.
So, practice calls, as you can see, they are still occurring, so we receive them via phone and email. There are only 2 staff that have any allocated time to address, and these staff also have other job duties, so it becomes kind of hairy to be able to keep up with these complex inquiries that sometimes require a little bit of research to respond. The caller, however, they want an immediate response. So we're trying to figure out how do we answer these and keep everybody happy. General counsel, we can only refer them to the Nurse Practice Act, and we are not attorneys, so we cannot give legal advice. They don't understand that either, so they were upset with us for that. Possible solution in the future, I can possibly do like a survey of other states to see, how they handle practice inquiries that come in. We talked about doing like a frequently asked question and putting them on the website and newsletters, and if I had time in another one day in the week, perhaps I could get something like that done. But I would say 2 of the concerns that we have received this last quarter is listed on page 2. Let's see, page 6 of your packet. X-ray and APRN ordering. A little bit of history here, KDHE statutes do not allow for an APRN without an overseeing physician to order x-rays. So that's contrary to the full practice authority that was granted. So there is some discussion with the KDHE and radiation control. How does this, change? Who makes the change? That's a concern that came across, because it's like they're requiring them to have a collaborative agreement, but yet they have full practice authority. So the APRNs are not happy either with us. And then the second issue that we had that was concerning is a business operations and nurses. Primarily what was reported was a ketamine clinic run by APRNs. And the patients that were requesting referrals to this clinic for treatment of their mental health. And there is no current policy or regulation by KSBN. This concern was placed anonymously, but it's a legitimate complaint or concern because they're a practicing healthcare provider as well, and they are getting questions from their patients asking for referrals to these types of clinics. So they're asking what are we doing to kind of ensure that the population is safe and the public is safe, because ketamine is a difficult medication to control. So, it's very valid questions. We've had the questions about IV hydration and Botox clinics before as well, and they've also brought that up as well. So, if this practice committee wants to kind of next steps or addressing any of these concerns, but I just thought I would point those two things out specifically.
Is there any comments or discussions about either of those entities?
Madam Chairman, I have a question. So, Linda, I didn't know that these things were popping up. I knew about the aesthetics and the hydrations, but these are becoming as well. In the larger city, or is it in the rural, or is it where in the, what's the volume?
I don't know if it's just primarily related to only urban areas or if it's wherever a nurse or an APRN is wanting to develop their own practice, set up their own business. We do receive requests they want to set up their business and they have to file with the Secretary of State's office. So we have to fill out a form for them as far as the LLC is what they're setting up. But then they also have questions about their business operations and how do they run their business. And that's above us. And we refer them back to their attorneys and for that. But we don't have anything in our statutes that allow us to do anything of that nature. So, but, they're starting to be more and more.
I have a question on that because like I work in a rural hospital and we don't let just any of the even physicians, providers give the drugs. They have to have like a specialized training for different airways and things like that. Our CRNAs would freak out if we just let anybody do it. So is there any kind of specialized training that they're requiring or anything? Those drugs can be dangerous.
They very much are. They're dissociative medications, and that's what they use to sedate children before procedures in the emergency room. And they're required, I thought, to have
specialized training.
ACLS supplies and code blue supplies to be able to do that. So is there protocols associated with it for what they're doing and volumes, how much you give them? I think there's a lot of deep questions that would want to be investigated before just saying, stamping on it that it might be something to be allowed.
Has there been any precedent before on something like this where that we actually had to create legislature around it and make it so?
I don't know for KSBN. I think other states have these issues as well. The NCSBN did put out a position statement. Of course, that's just a special interest group, it's a guide. But they did put something out relating to IV hydration, I think just recently. I put that in your December packet and you can review what they've said. I can do a survey of other states to see
Nevada's got something,
who's
I'm
got
sure.
some things. But then that might show us kind of what maybe their statutory language, regulation language shows. That's what this committee wants to kind of go down, or any type of procedures we do different. I don't know. We get a lot of these calls, a lot.
Well, the challenge that I see is, you know, you're kind of darned if you do, darned if you don't, because if you do and try, you can go pretty down a deep hole, but then if you don't do anything, then the Wild West kind of ensures the rules, and it, you know, for me, that was kind of like what I was seeing with the midwife thing last meeting, was that when there's no strict rules in place to follow, each segment tends to develop their own set of rules, and I hate to see that happen in this case as well.
Something will happen to make us have to reel it back in. And so if we just get ahead of it, that's the better way to go.
I think it'd be a good idea to get some examples of what other states are doing, especially with the ketamine.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
then I would also say about the calls, I went to NCSB and they had like a chat bot that they kind of fielded calls, and I don't know when or if that'll become available.
It was the Mississippi Board of Nursing as a little AI bot that they used, and we've been kind of looking at it for some possible things.
Is there a cost for that for us?
Yeah.
I'm always saying if there's, yeah, like what, so who answers that? It's just.
It's automated. It uses some AI that looks at basically like FAQs and those sorts of things, and you can ask them in certain.
Like the most common questions, and then develop the answers around it.
Mhm. And then I think North Dakota Board of Nursing is also.
They're a good resource.
Yeah, and I can get you contacts for that.
Okay.
So it sounds like then for the December agenda, it would be good to have examples from other states. Kind of be addressed with their chatbot, Mississippi.
And I could gather up some of that information. I actually do have the one from the Mississippi Board, and have a little presentation that the gentleman I know real well for North Dakota.
And at least maybe we can get some basic questions answered. Maybe it won't cover everything, but we can give people some answers.
And maybe we could even, I think there's Agent K is what I think it's called for Kansas. And they have a solution over at kansas.gov who hosts our website, so maybe that's maybe not costing.
Some people prefer that,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And then did you say something, there was also a position statement that you would put in the?
We, KSB, I can't do position statements, but I think that there was something from NCSB and they just did one. So I could add that. And as far as what they wrote regarding IV hydration, which I think they did some sort of study or research on. So I can include all of that together.
Let me ask this, so since you're getting a lot of calls on this, have people already started this? They're just doing it willy-nilly out there?
And I think that's the double-edged sword on a lot of these things. If there aren't parameters around it, then people just kind of make up their own rules and go from there. And that's kind of dangerous sometimes.
And I think that most of them are not cash pay, so there's no insurance oversight either, so. It's an interesting topic. I can work on bringing that back.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So actually, I need a motion since those were consent agenda items. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent item agenda, which include the practice calls report.
Is there a second? Moved in second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. So next on our agenda is unfinished business, 5-year combined statute and regulation review process.
Yeah, so, Andy Martin has been busy, kind of putting all the statutes and regulations together, and so we're gonna start those review again back in March of 2026. You know, KSBN always does every 5-year review. But the ones that are assigned to this committee are started on page 14. But, you know, those that are listed for 2026, doesn't mean that you can't pull something from another year and use it and put it through sooner rather than later. Choose some, I think some committees are putting them all back on in December for a review, or if you want to wait until March and just start that, they have to be done by December of next year. So every year to get them all reviewed.
Start December or?
Doesn't have attendance take 2026, sorry.
So they're talking about the ones that have to be done by next December, the ones that are March 2026, right?
Yeah, March
Okay.
2026, yeah.
All right,
But if there's some that are 2027 or 2028, you want to move them to 2026, we can do that.
Yeah, they're all moved then.
So you'll just recall that we just did the regulation review according to the way the legislators wanted us to review those. So now we're gonna do the statutes and regs in that same fashion. So we're to do that again. So,
Okay.
we'll be ready.
Do we want to start in December?
Yeah.
I think we start in December.
Yeah.
We pull like 5 of them out of this one.
I'll pull all that are listed for 2026 and then we'll
Just go down to
just
the.
start looking at them.
Okay, perfect. So, more unfinished business, certified professional midwife discussion. This is where, we propose an executive session with Charles. And on page 18, we package the case law that Charles will talk to us about. And when you figure we need about 10 minutes. He said. For you guys,
Oh, is that what Charles needs?
Charles, do you? 10 minutes?
Yes. Probably more like 15 or 20, I would say.
Madam Chair, pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2, I move that the practice committee recess into executive session for 20 minutes and reconvene at 3:40 PM. The meeting will be reconvened by Zoom on the 5th floor of the LSOB, room 509, Landon Office Building 900, Southwest Jackson, Topeka, Kansas, 66612, as stated in the notice of the meeting sent to individuals who requested the notice and is published on the board's website at www.ksbn.kansas.gov. The justification is consultation with the board's legal counsel, Assistant Attorney General Charles Mashiers, that would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. The subject matter to be discussed in the executive session concerns legal issues related to internal procedures and statutory compliance. The board's executive administrator, Carol Moreland, and Linda Davies, practice specialists, are included as the client.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in
This
favor,
is Charles Macheers. Jesse Burris should also be included.
Thank you.
And I vote to amend that as adding Jesse Burks.
And I'll redo my second for the amendment.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We will reconvene at 3:40. Thanks, Colton. Before we move on to our next item of agenda, any recommendations coming out of there for next steps for us? Further discussion, more research?
Yes, further discussion, more research.
Yes.
So,
I think there's just still some things that are unclear based on what we heard. We're still unsure what we should do with that information. Agreed.
yeah,
This is Charles Macheers. I could give you three options for your consideration. One, you could do nothing and wait until a member of the public complains. Or number two, you could modify the regulations or introduce a bill in the legislature to bring it under your umbrella of regulation. Because I think Linda has some information that 38 states have started regulating them. So
So Charles, this is Linda. So the public complaints, you said, is it the patient or just a member of the public?
the patient.
The patient complains.
I mean, if there's an outcry from the general public that people are being harmed, then we'd certainly want to consider acting to protect the public.
then wasn't that brought to our attention because of a negative outcome?
Yes.
Yes.
That's how we came to
Was
our
it?
attention.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was,
Well,
Yeah,
there you go.
that I can bring maybe some standard or some language or something from the other states, perhaps, for the committee to come look at and consider in December. I mean,
Other states that have like regulations to us.
some have, on those comparison charts, some have laws in place that kind of like help define the role of the CPM in their state. I can bring back a few and kind of see where we go. Maybe not all 38,
But not only the CPM, but just the lay.
that is the lay.
Okay.
It's the CPM and what they maybe are allowed to do or within their states.
And just to clarify on that 1996 case you brought, did they go into any greater detail about what defines the word comfort? Or some of the words that were used in the decision to give more specificity?
Maybe that's something Charles can
Yes.
research and bring back.
I think that would be good because those are rather generic, vague terms that
Comfort could be pain medicine.
could be on many, many things. Yeah.
So define comfort or give more specificity as to their role, is that what you're saying?
Okay. We will do some more research and get back to you.
New business, delegation of task in school setting, mechanical ventilation. The KSNO conference recap, we've got Lynette that's going to join us via Zoom to explain her request.
They're moving over.
Awesome. Hi, Lynette. I think you're muted.
Now can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yes, thanks, Linnell. We would love to hear what you have to say. We have about 5 to 7 minutes if you'd like to
Perfect.
share.
Thank you for having me. I come to you today concerning the delegation of nursing tasks. It's KAR 60-15-101 through 104. And this was approved, the latest revision was in March of 2023. And it addresses mechanical ventilation and the management of provider order, yes, and that a registered nurse is allowed within the scope of practice. And at the time, and continuing, that this was ever created, this one student has never presented itself. And 6 years ago, there was a nurse facilitator that didn't bring it to the state because she assumed when it says that a school nurse can manage mechanical ventilation, she assumed that meant managing a ventilator. We have a condition now of a student. It's called congenital central hypoventilation syndrome. It's a chronic illness. It's a chronic condition in which the student not only needs ventilator support 1.5 to 2 hours a day during their school day, but they also have diaphragmatic pacer cables to tell their diaphragm to breathe for them. The student currently, they have hired a 1-to-1 ratio, and the student has always had a 1-to-1, began with a home health agency nurse. The district hired a one-on-one nurse who has had 400 add on the school year now academic hours. She's had over 400 hours of training, but previous to the student coming to my building, it was understood that the nurse in the building that's not the one-on-one could have a 90-minute review of how to use an ambu bag for a student, or how to disconnect, reconnect to a ventilator for this student. And I don't believe that there was advocacy for the school nurse. I don't think that this is a safe assignment, and I have made my concerns known to the school board, the National Association of School Nurses, and the Kansas Association of School Nurses. And I would like review of this mechanical management of, this is a chronic illness. When the student's admitted to the hospital, only respiratory therapists are allowed to manipulate this device. Her specialist is in Chicago. Again, there's only 1,500 cases in the world. So it's relatively new. There's one student in Kansas that has this condition, and they are far more stable than our student. They've done a beautiful job. This child is general ed. So they maneuver about the building, but this isn't, I believe when I look at management of mechanical ventilation, I think of an acute measure, a life-saving measure using a bag valve mask, those kinds of things, as opposed to my history of an intensive care, surgical intensive care nurse. I never managed a ventilator in that setting, and I don't think it's safe to ask a school nurse, even though this is just one student, I don't think it's safe to ask a school nurse to assume responsibility for something that clearly the one-on-one nurse has now up to 600 hours of care of this child. Does that make sense?
Does, yes, thank you, Linnell. So you're asking us to review the current, the current delegation of tasks, correct? And
That is correct.
okay, all right. So that's something we can absolutely put on the December 2025 agenda, and I believe, is there a fax that Linnell sent us?
Yeah, she did send in the article regarding this, so I will put this also in the December packet for you to read through. Thank you, Linnell, for doing that. So if we have any more questions in December, follow up with Linnell after that, maybe.
Yeah.
Please reach out. I am more than happy to share my experiences and to advocate as this moves forward for the protection of the next buildings. As I said, the student, as long as they maintain a ventilator and pacemaker or pacer cables to her diaphragm support. The student remains a general ed student, walks around, talks, participates, but I think we need to revisit that because we've never had a situation where someone's asked in a school setting to manage a ventilator. So
Thank you for
thank you
bringing-
for your time.
Sure. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Linda. Be in
Thank
touch.
you. Okay. We met Linnell when we went to the KSNO School Nurse Conference. She came up to our exhibit table and discussed this, so we asked her to come and present this because it's a new issue for them. But there was also another school nurse question that came in that says look at the delegation of tasks. They're getting questions about the feeding tubes being changed from G tube to GJ tubes. And that doesn't only mean that the RN can do that, or can they delegate that out? So that's another area that needs to probably be expanded upon. If you're gonna look at the delegation of tasks again, and if it was, I think last done in 2023, is that right? Yeah, March 21st of 2023, so it might be time to kind of consider those things.
That would be good.
Yes.
So we're picking the time that someone's in the school to change out a G2 to a GJ2? No? What am I missing?
I don't know, I'll have to get more information.
Okay.
I think it's like on a Mickey button or something like that, who can administer through it,
Oh,
either for
okay.
fluid boluses or food boluses. Who can do, I mean, it's simple, but who is, does it have to be, a nurse
Sorry,
can be
misunderstood.
delegated to someone else, because I mean, parents do it at home.
Okay.
So I think the delegation of tasks only lists G2 feedings.
Yeah.
It has reinsertion of percutaneous G2. Reinsertion.
Really?
Yeah, I know, I thought that too. I was like,
In case it comes out.
I don't know. That's,
You wouldn't think you should do that in school.
I don't think so.
It's not the best place for that. Maybe we just bring that back to December.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Thank you.
G-tube and mechanical ventilation in
And
December.
whatever else they find, sure.
Perfect. Okay, and then our last item on the agenda, we have Carol to give a report from the IV Therapy Task Force.
Yeah, I won't take very long, but I just wanted to let this committee know that there's an IV therapy task force that has met, and this is for LPNs and IV therapy. You know, we have, I think 3-4 regulations about it, but it came back to, it actually came back to the CNE IV therapy committee. That's where this started. And they wanted a task force to be put together. So we have some IV therapy providers, both from within a PN program and then just standalone. And they brought a bunch of questions and stuff that they wanted clarification on. Some of them are definitions that we'll put in, and I did not revise the regulations yet. I can certainly bring that in December. But some of their questions are already in the regulations. I just don't think they understood or read them very well or something along that line. But that's kind of where we're at right now, is doing some clarification. And then, like I said, there will be definitions added, and I can certainly bring those next time and get your take on it and see what you think of that. The next step then, after I do that and bring that back in December, is the task force then is going to start looking at the competency checklist we have, which needs to be updated, and also the exam. It needs to be updated greatly. So, but we wanted to kind of look at the regulations first and then branch out from there. So I will bring that in December.
Any questions for Carol? So keep me honest here. Our agenda items for December 2025 committee meeting are business operations and nurses, X-ray and APRN, mechanical ventilation. We'll add delegation of tasks, yeah. CPM and the IV therapy task force report out.
The report for chatbot,
Oh,
things of
yes,
that nature from
yes.
NCSBN. Thank you. So practice call, like.
I wrote down. It's so weird. The chatbot piece, what other states are doing with ketamine.
Yeah.
The NSCDM position statements we talked about.
Precedents,
And was there a precedent set? Yes.
I think so. Is there anything else? You know, the executive session.
I guess, so that concludes our meeting. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.